What is going on, everyone? You know, I get a lot of emails. One of the most common subjects is retirement. Where's the cheapest? Where's the best place? Where's the safest? And recently, where should I go for an early retirement? What state? What city? In the last couple months, I've done the worst state for retirement and the cheapest state for retirement. Today, I thought we'd talk about the cities and which ones are best for an early retirement. If you retire before 65, it is considered an early retirement. If you're 21 and you're working in a cubicle someplace, you just thought to yourself, I'm never going to make it. I'm going to die here in this cubicle. 90% of the early retirees are between 45 and 60. If you retire at 45, you're really not ready to join the early bird special lawn bowling crowd down in Florida, are ya? Besides, if you're 45 living in Florida, that is bad news for your skin. Too much sun and too much free time to be outside. If you ain't heavy on the sunscreen and lotion, you're gonna look 125 by the time you finally do hit that retirement age of 65. So in this video, we are looking at places where the economy, typical household income, and population are relatively in good health. And we also favored locations that have a high concentration of residents aged 45 to 63. So you have a better chance of enjoying your early retirement with people around your age. That being said, I think if we're gonna look at cities for an early retirement home, you should probably start with number 10. Huntsville, Alabama. With its population of 444,000 residents, Huntsville, Alabama is a great place to retire early. And you heard me right, Huntsville, Alabama. It isn't too often an Alabama city makes it on a positive list of any sort. Unless, of course, you're looking at a list of best states to find a date at a family reunion, then yeah, they're all over it. The thing is this, Huntsville isn't like any other place in Alabama. They're like their own universe, really. Kind of like how Austin is in Texas. It's completely different from the rest of the state. You have everything here from symphonies to bass fishing. To be honest, you have all kinds of fishing in Huntsville, with the Tennessee River and the Indian Creek just on the edge of the city. Wait, is it still called the Indian Creek, or did they change it to the Indigenous People Creek? I don't know, I didn't get the memo. Anyway, moving on. They also have more golf courses than any city this size should be allowed to have. They're everywhere. And they got a top golf place too, so that's always good. The retired cost of living in Huntsville is about 5.4% below the national average, and the share of the population that is between 45 and 64 is 30%. The US average is 26.1%, so that's a good portion of the population will be right in your wheelhouse there. Number 9, Lake Havasu City, Arizona. With its population of 204,000, Lake Havasu City is a great desert town to take an early retirement. If you can handle extreme heat during the summer, this place is for you. Do you like boating, fishing, and like shaking your fist in anger at California and drunk college kids? Again, Lake Havasu City is for you. The city sits right on Lake Havasu, which I am sure you probably already figured out by the name. I mean, nobody has ever named a city miles from any measurable amount of water, something like Lake Erie, New Mexico. Anyway, it is directly across the lake from California and is downriver from Nevada, where you can go play the slots and Laughlin all you want. Gamble away that retirement money. Around different holidays like spring break, Lake Havasu is overrun with drunk young people. If that doesn't bother you, this is a great place to retire. The cost of living for retirees is about 1% below the national average. Not the best, but definitely not terrible. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is 29% in Lake Havasu City. So again, more people to hang out with around your age. Number 8, Twin Falls, Idaho. Twin Falls, Idaho, with its 105,000 residents, it's an extremely fresh air. They have great air quality, by the way. You know, it's really hard to go wrong moving to Idaho. It's become a very popular state to move to in the last handful of years. The only people I have ever heard complain about Idaho were 20-ish young people that grew up there and moved to Portland, Oregon. They hated growing up there, and they always seem to be from some small town. Twin Falls is not a small town. Anyway, most people love Twin Falls. It has a little crime by Idaho standards, but it's Disneyland dangerous compared to someplace like Detroit. It's not dangerous at all. Anyway, Twin Falls has a lot of things going for it. They also have a low cost of living and low housing costs. The only other knock they have on them is their schools aren't graded the best, but if you're retiring, it's really not something you're worried about, right? Now here's the other good news. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is about 30% again. And the cost of living for retirees is almost 10% below the national average. Like I said, you could do a lot worse than Twin Falls. Number 7, St. George, Utah. St. George and its population of 87,000 residents get to enjoy warm weather and beautiful landscapes. That is what draws most people to this place. but it's so much more. Like Idaho, it's hard to go wrong moving anywhere in Utah. St. George is a great place for early retirement. Good weather, low crime, low housing costs, and a cost of living for retirees that's about 3% lower than the national average. Golf, hike, the Virgin River's right there, ATVs, horseback riding, and you're only 45 minutes away from Mesquite, Nevada, in case you want to do some gambling and heavy drinking. St. George is probably best for the types that have a little more disposable income, because there's a lot to do here and it can get expensive. But some of the cheaper things are like hiking and taking in sunsets that'll make anyone's Instagram do far better than it's doing right now, with pictures of grandkids and your poodle or your labradoodle. Number 6, Bozeman, Montana. Bozeman, Montana has 100,000 residents and they spend a lot of time at the Bass Pro Shop and REI. If you got a fever for the outdoors and the only cure is living in the mountains, Bozeman in southern Montana is just what the doctor ordered. Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park are south of Bozeman, and Butte isn't too far away in case you feel the need to visit the World Museum of Mining. It's there in Butte. I wonder why the world decided to put their mining museum here. I can think of more popular mining towns. Probably get a hell of a lot more foot traffic into the mining museum if they were, say, someplace like New York City, but they put it in Butte. The landscape and scenery should tell you should be comfortable with hiking, mountain biking, skiing, and hearing stories about the world of mining. Hunting and fishing are extremely popular in Bozeman, Montana. Now, like I said, it's getting a little expensive, and the cost of living for retirees is about 1.6% above the national average, so it's a little bit higher than some of the other ones on this list. The share of the population that's between 45 and 64 is 24%, but I did read another stat that said the percentage of the population between 45 and 55, a little bit younger, is 38% of the population. So yeah, that just shows you they like to be outdoors there, and it's a little easier to do when you're a little bit younger. Number 5, Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha has 914,000 people. They're almost getting to 1 million, and that almost 1 million people like a slow type of lifestyle. That's how it is in Omaha. If you can get past the potential boredom, Omaha is perfect. I have an uncle who's retired. He just likes to read, watch TV, go on a couple cruises each year, maybe hit Vegas. He doesn't need hiking trails or places to rent ATVs. Actually, he really doesn't need hiking trails. He lost part of his foot in the Nam. But for people like that, I mean, with or without a whole foot, doesn't matter. Omaha is for you. They have a touch more crime than you'd expect from a city in Nebraska, but it's not crazy. Now, this is where we normally get someone disputing the crime and saying it's really bad, and it's always some kid trying to gain a little street cred via the YouTube comment section. You have crime. It's not crazy. Stop typing. It's not off the hook. Not ghetto in Omaha, Nebraska, okay? Knock it off. Anyway, the percentage of the population that's between 45 and 64 is just about 25%, and the cost of living for retirees is about 4% below the national average. Not bad. Number 4, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah has about 377,000 residents, and most of them are extremely polite. Don't know what their deal is. They're just really nice and really friendly. Now, this is where we get to my favorite southern city, and part of it is because they're really polite. Savannah, Georgia is amazing. This is one of the best coastal cities for anyone, even more so for retirees. Georgia already has a low cost of living, but they take a few steps forward for the retirement crowd. This is a very inexpensive state to live in, and Savannah's no different. Especially what's weird about this one, it's not that costly to live here, and it's right on the ocean. It's strange. It's an anomaly. Savannah is a great place to live. This historic Georgia city offers beautiful architecture, including old school American classic town square. It's right there for you, and the riverfront walk area, it looks like you step back in time. It's just awesome. Anyway, you can also enjoy the different restaurants, museums, theaters, all that stuff in downtown Savannah. Honestly, walk in the downtown area any evening, and the smell of the place will make you gain 5 pounds. The food in Savannah is unbeatable. 24% of the population of Savannah is between 45 and 64, and the cost of living for retirees is 10% below the national average. Like I said, for a coastal town, that's amazing. Number 3, Pierre, South Dakota. Pierre is one of the least populated state capitals in the nation. With 21,956 people, it's almost not a capital city, but a capital town. South Dakota is an amazing place to live, and it is consistently a top state for retirement. It's low cost of living, tax friendliness, and economically the state is in good shape. Sure, the tariffs are hurting a little bit in the farming area, but the financial services, data rooms, digital asset management, and the tourism companies continue to grow and contribute to the state's job growth. This means if you are retired and you want a part-time job or something, Pierre's gonna have it for you. On top of that, it's like hard not to know everyone in Pierre after living there a week. It's a very small city. And just like all small cities, you start to know everyone. There's good and there's bad about that, but if you like knowing everyone, Pierre is probably the best place for you. And you also got the Missouri River running right through town, so that'll keep you busy. 28% of the residents in Pierre are between 45 and 64, so a lot of friends to do things with. Cost of living here is about 3% below the national average for retirees, so again, solid. Number 2. Portland, Maine. So this is one of the more expensive cities on this list, Portland, Maine. Not to be confused with Portland, Oregon. And cue the liberal hellhole comments. Yes, we understand. Portland, Oregon represents all that ails this country, what with their Antifa, beer, and their strip clubs. Yes, we get it. Let it go. We hear it all the time in the comment section. So I guess we read it all the time in the comment section, to be more specific. Portland, Maine is nothing like those centers out in Oregon. They're actually completely different. Side note, Portland, Oregon was actually named after Portland, Maine. Yeah. It was a coin toss. It was going to either be Portland, Oregon or Boston, Oregon. Portland won the coin toss. Anyway, the largest city in Maine, Portland, offers a great place to live at any age, but really pushes it up a notch or two for the retired crowd. They have a great downtown and plenty of big city features surrounded by the great outdoors of the Pine Tree State. Portland gives you beaches without old dudes in banana hammocks like Florida, so that's a serious plus. If you've ever seen that, you won't recover. Now, if you're an older dude in a banana hammock, stop it. Knock it off. Nobody needs to see that. Anyway, Portland also has all the seasons, so it's not just summer all the time. Summer all the time sounds like a great plan until you've had summer all the time. Then you get kind of sick of it. Some people don't, but most people do. Now, like I said, they are more expensive than most on this list, but they have a great 45 to 65 crowd, with 34% of the population being that age range. And the population from 35 to 45 crowd is about the same, so the place is silly with your types. The cost of living for retirees is about 17% above the national average. So like I said, they're a little high, but they don't have bad crime stats, and the people are decent to each other. So Portland, Maine would probably be my choice. And number 1. Sherman, Texas. Sherman, Texas has a population of about 130,000 residents. They enjoy warm summers and kind of, calm winters. This small Texas city is a little bit north of Dallas near the Oklahoma border, and it's just about on the Red River. It is among the cheapest cities to live in the country. Housing costs are extremely low, at almost 30% below the national average. The median home value in Sherman is about $105,000 compared to the rest of Texas, which is about $151,000. Another great thing about Sherman, it's growing. It's gained 2,000 to 3,000 people every census since 1980. As a matter of fact, they've grown at least 4% every census since 1850, when they had 35 people and a mule. They eventually took the mule off the report because they found out he was an ass. Yes! Comedy gold right there, everyone. I'll be here all week. Don't forget your waitress. Nature lovers will also love this place. It's got a 12,000 acre national wildlife refuge. They have some lakes in the area with good fishing, and the before mentioned Red River's right there too. Sherman, I would probably move to if I was in the retirement situation, if I like the heat. That's their only drawback to someone like me, is the heat. Quiet little town with a nice little downtown area. It's that Texas downtown area where the buildings look, I wouldn't say they look rustic. That's the best way to explain it. But the percentage of the population here is sort of what gets them on the list. Between 45 to 64, it's about 30% of the population. And that's a good number. And then when you have a 64 and above, that's about another 10% of the population. And the 35 to 45 is about another 20% of the population. So there's not a whole lot of young people here. It's the 35 and above is, the crowd here. Anyway, the cost of living for retirees here is about 14% below the national average, which again, solid numbers. Sherman, Texas is the best place to retire early. Alright, so that is my top 10 best cities to retire early. Hope you got some information out of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, buy a t-shirt, become a member, all that good stuff I say all the time. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.